at least one portfolio founder of mine. So
Hello,
great news.
everyone.
Always support in the room.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome, everyone. Leaving you the time to connect, maybe asking all the participants to cut off your mics for the moment, and then we can start our session. Welcome to already our 12th edition of the online reverse pitch sessions. These dynamic online sessions, we flip the traditional script. Investors step into the spotlight and pitch their funds directly to the entrepreneurs, to you guys, providing us unique insights into securing the right investment to scale your project. I'm Anne Meers, Euroquity Belgium manager, and together with my colleague Laura, will guide you through today's engaging session. So, thrilled to introduce you three outstanding investors who will share their investment strategies, criteria, and tips for connecting effectively. First, you'll hear from Benjamin Renou of XAnge. Benjamin brings a robust background in both consulting and technology to his role at XAnge. Before joining the firm in 2024, he gained valuable experience at McKinsey and Tesla. At XAnge, Benjamin focuses on early-stage investment in digital, deep tech, and impact startups. And then next, we'll have Leen Segers from ForsVC. Leen is a seasoned tech operator that turned founder and investor with a passion for media and entertainment. She co-founded Women in Immersive Tech Europe and has been involved with multiple early-stage metaverse investment funds. Since November 23, she has been managing director at ForsVC, fund dedicated to game studios and game tech investments. And then finally, we'll welcome Job Wever from Antler. Job holds a double master's degree in applied physics and management engineering from the TU Delft with an honors term in AI at Stanford. And he begins his career through internships at ASML, Kempen, and Tor Capital Partners. Since January 24, has been investment analyst at Antler, where he focuses on sourcing and evaluating investment opportunities, conducting due diligence, and working closely with portfolio companies to drive growth. So let me welcome all three of you. Nice to have you here. And then I think we should not wait any longer because we have a short delay, and therefore, welcome. And Benjamin, you can take the mic. Tell us more about XAnge.
Thanks a lot for having us. Let me share my screen. Hope everybody's doing well. I can't really see your guys' face, especially when I start pitching, but I really hope you guys are doing well. Can you just confirm that you guys are hearing me well?
Cool. Yes, and see the screen.
Amazing. Then thanks a lot. Hello, everybody. So very happy to talk a bit more about XAnge. Maybe a quick introduction on myself before. So I'm Ben. I'm from Brussels originally. Spent my life there. I moved a bit to the UK and France afterwards for my studies and for work. I worked a bit in consulting, etc., more as fixed terms. Then I did actually an internship at XAnge back in 2022, actually. Then I went to work for Tesla for a bit. I worked on the relationship between engineers and the regulators on autonomous driving. And then I actually, my team got dismantled because Elon Musk went crazy, as we say. And then XAnge called me back to open the Benelux office, which I happily did in September last year. So I'll get to that a bit later, but we crystallize our effort in the country with a proper office now sitting in Brussels, which I'm leading. Basically around XAnge, so we're a European VC firm, initially Franco-German, now investing everywhere in Europe. So 3 main offices, Paris, Berlin, now Brussels, as I said. We're very happily B Corp certified since last year with more than 80 portfolio companies. We actually invested in more than 200 companies because we've been here since 2004, as you can see. But 80, we either crashed some, exited others. So we're yet with 80 of the best ones, let's say. And then basically as a main thesis, but I'll get way deeper on that later, we're putting seed Series A ticket mainly, but we can do from pre-seed to Series B basically. But our core focus is seed Series A. We tend to like having a board seat. We kind of target an ownership of 10-15%, let's say, as our first investment, as a leader, co-lead kind of position always. And we have ticket size between 500K to 10 million. That can vary as well, but this is like kind of the main thing. So we're now at the fourth generation actually of XAnge. So we raised our fourth vehicle in 2021, which was XAnge 4 that you can see, which was a fund of 20 million. And now we're actually on the go, like to fundraise like the next fund, which is going to be announced probably on the first closing in the next couple of weeks/months, and it's going to be XAnge 5 as we call it. It's going to be 250 million ready to invest in beautiful startup, which I hope you guys are the funders who are going to invest in. But yeah, that's about us. If I can go on the next one, or main thesis in terms of topic is more like articulated around three main topics. So first one is AI, because you can't go again like next to AI, right? So it's basically we could have said software, but we wouldn't invest right now in a software that doesn't have a strong AI strategy. So this is why we call it AI transformation. The idea is everything like SaaS productivity, AI for health, with companies like Lemur, for example, AI for radiology, that raised more like 60 million, or like anything AI agent, APIs. Gladia has been one of our last investment from last year's, more in like speech to text kind of models. So this is on the AI side, but I'll get back to our portfolio later, but we have strong like legacy in fintech, insurtech, etc. as well, or HR tech. Deeptech is now a third of our portfolio, I'd say. So we're investor in Belgium we're very proud investor in Aerospace Labs. So there were 3 in our warehouse. Now they raised more than 80 million, and they actually announced their last tranche of their Series B of 25 millions today. So you can go and check it out. And yes, it's a company selling nanosatellites. They're doing great. We can actually do hardware, software, stem cells management with 3Frog, lasers management with Mirsen. So we're tech investors by essence. We love a tech differentiator, and we definitely find ourselves in the wave of deep tech that's coming in Europe, actually. And then we have a strong sustainable focus with companies like Greenly, Carbon Accounting Software, or Green Fusion, more recently in Germany. Strong for us focus on sovereignty when we talk about sustainability and how we can build this European mindset that will actually lead and pave the way for a strong energy transition. Hence also why we invest in Sirona in Belgium, which I'm actually following, which is director capture company that's doing absolutely great out of Brussels. I think also like the thesis of XAnge has always been like opportunistic in a sense, and I think that's the only way like VCs on a journalistic level have to go, is not to have a fixed thesis, especially for generalist VC, but kind of go along the way. So we started with digital brands, like we invested in Captain, Evaneos, or like SaaS back in the day. We actually in Belgium were the first investor in Odoo, so we led the Series A at the 30 million plus money, which I think was a good price for what it became. But we invested also in Lydia and Believe, that all became unicorns by now. Fintech was a very big topic at the time. We sold Currency Cloud to Visa for 400 million. And then we kind of moved along the way with like Deeptech coming in, AI for health becoming more and more of a topic over the last couple of funds. And now, Deeptech has become a much bigger part of our portfolio. You see like Vertical Compute, a company out for the iMac that we invested in like 2 months ago. It's a pure vertical memory one, becoming kind of like a core topic in our strategy, let's say. And so you can ask like what makes our secret sauce, like what makes XAnge so beautiful, and I think it has 2 parts. Like any VC has 2 parts, right? So first one is the sourcing, so how we can be integrated in our ecosystem and add value to all the different parties. So how can we add value to the events you see on the top part, on the education part? So we regularly, I think, at least once a week or once every 2 weeks, there is one person of the company presenting in the university, gets deeper link with like the labs, etc. We can actually add value or visibility on the ecosystem that we might have. We have something called the XAnge Seed Club. So it's all BAs or very interesting individuals in the tech world that they are like kind of our part of our LP base, but at the same time they're providing great support to our founders. And then we also have a strong automations internally to win. And then like we love to be to have like shining companies, as we say, shining company that's a shining entrepreneur. You can see Fabien from Odoo with a big smile there. Hopefully it was after he learned XAnge invested actually. But yeah, otherwise like Ledger, Believe, Lydia, all massive success on our side that help us kind of shine throughout the European scene. I think like now it's a good time maybe for you guys to get a bit deeper on like what do we actually care about and where would we invest or not invest. I think especially on the AI side, so I'll go through three verticals like probably quickly, but this one for us is interesting because it's definitely where we're going to focus our efforts, one of our efforts. We're looking for a tech improvement. I think that's really like if you, any one of you, and I hope all of you has an AI strategy in your company, then being able to say like, okay, the technology has been at a point A and we're bringing to a point B is definitely what's going to make us invest or not, actually. And so it's how to get away from the investment, try to see a proper mode. We have this kind of saying of telling founders, if a better foundation model and if a better state of the AI reduces your ability to be strong in the market or reduces your relevance in the market, then we won't invest. So you have to go with the wave. We have to be very conscious on that and very understanding of the future of AI, and we're kind of going with that. So we invested, for example, in Animage that does like it's branded, but for cartoon making actually, which for us is totally encapsulating all that effort, all those efforts. Qubit exactly the same, more like in a complex pharmaceutical platform play, but we wouldn't go for like just pure agents without strong like tech differentiation or very like I mean, talking about tech improvement, sure, Mistral, LF Alpha, H probably less now, but in general, big tech improvement, but we're not really into, let's say, marketing tickets, so we didn't go for those one. On the deep tech side, again, like main topics are sovereignty, massive investment, like we don't really care about capex intensivity. Vertical compute is a good example of that. We just want like strong market upside, the ability to become big, fast, and just like change the rules of the market, which for us is the most important part of the job. Well, I already talked about most of those investments, so won't go too deep. But yeah, what we often see deep tech is for us we see a wrong market sizing. So I think for us understanding the market and the use case is definitely the most important part here in deep tech. And then on the sustainable side, I think it's kind of like goes back to everything I was saying before, so nothing major here. I think we can sum it up in health and carbon management, if I can say, even though it's a bit like underwhelming like that. But we're very, very much focused on how can you bring technology to another level here. I think tech differentiation in the energy sector is definitely something we're needing right now. And I think that's what we've seen at Gleamer, implicity, especially in health, that actually made us invest. I think one of the best thing I can say about XAnge is how we're good at helping founders. So we have 4 people full time. Here you see 3, but there's a 4th one that's coming in. So Pauline, David, and Pierre that are focusing on helping our founders day to day, night and day actually. They're kind of a customer success, but we call it a startup success. So basically, they answer to around 1,000 tickets a day, a year. Sorry. So it goes anywhere from, hey, one of our founders saying, hey, I need a CFO in Spain. How much should I pay him or her? Or oh, I need to open an office in Germany. What's the legislation? Do you know a benchmark of what's Series B founders pay their CTO? And all of those are those kind of questions that founders lose time, and we have the visibility because we are in so many startups and we can give very fast insight. So that's a big part of our value creation actually. Then we write some, I think, amazing books on like Series A raising, Series B raising, seed raising is coming as well. So all of those are kind of like all ways to give back to the ecosystem and give to our founders what they deserve. And then yeah, we're not only investing in ESG as a as a fund, we're also trying to kind of like respect our principles ourselves. Hence why we became a B Corp in 2023. We kind of have this kind of discipline of saying what we force to our founders, we need to force it on ourselves. So how can we actually track that all our investment are actually sustainable? We don't pretend like the dust under the carpet to actually identify the sustainability risk. I think it was a big topic, for example, for Sirona direct air capture. Like, how do we actually prove that it's beneficial to the environment, that we actually get in? And this is just has become such a huge part of a due diligence. And even now, like we see a lot of VCs saying like it takes a lot of time, etc. We think that's going to be our differentiator in the future, and how we can actually bring a lot of value and be good investors. And this comes on like the let's say sustainable side, more on the let's say climate one, but anything also on the social side is super important as well. So equity sharing, we've always been very open with like ESOP, for example, etc. And this has been a core principle for us, and will stay the same for a long time, I think. And yeah, and I cannot finish this presentation without talking about our great ambassadors, which are our founders. I think those are the core, the heart of XAnge. So just here like two pictures of like Christian and Carsten, but any other founders would agree to be there. They're really our babies, but at the same time are the people we care the most for. So you can, as a founder, calling XAnge, there is no night and day. We're always there, always trying to help. I think our NPS there is speaking for itself. We've also won like from France Digital last year, best operating team of a VC award. I think we're just trying to strengthen those efforts more and more. So this is a bit about us. Thanks a lot, everybody, for having listened. Feel free to reach out. I've let my email here, so this is probably our best way to reach out. And yeah, hopefully talk to a lot of you very soon.
Thank you very much, Benjamin. Very impressive presentation. I'm sure that quite some of our entrepreneurs are surely impressed about this. Maybe as well a little bit, how you say it, not scared, but yeah, asking themselves, well, these are all huge successes, big, great companies you've invested in, bringing them to bigger success. Maybe just to tell them, of course, you start at some point with them. They're not yet the unicorns when you step in, I suppose. Can you just give a little bit of feedback about that?
Sure, totally. And definitely we're super open. I mean, like when we invested in Aerospace Lab, I said there were 3 guys in a warehouse. When we invested in Lydia, there were probably 6 or 7 actually. So and we've invested in a lot of companies like Thoralf of Sirona. There were 2 actually when we invested. So we go from almost day one as pre-seed thing, or in seed. I think we tend not to be a day zero investors just by nature, but we try to be the first institutional ticket actually to get in the company. And we're super open. We don't believe in threshold in terms of like you have to have 1 million revenue to do a Series A, or you have to have X amount. I think we kind of believe those are bullshit, because there's no playbook, right? Everybody was saying Odoo will never go big because they were raising 70%, like a bit less, like year on year. But then their way to get there was that they did that for like 10 years, and it became Odoo actually. And so there's no playbook. It's just about the founders or fit with the founders. I haven't talked so much about how we behave with like the founders that we meet, but this is such core in our reputation and what we bring as a value. And so we're always happy to chat, always open. Please feel free to reach out, and super happy to even grab a coffee if you're around. And yeah, and I just saw a question online on minority. Yeah, as I said, like we're targeting an ownership of like 10-15%. So always minority, because the founder is the founder. He has to stay the founder.
Right. I think that that was important to clarify that out, and that reassures, I think, as well as some of the entrepreneurs. So thank you for that one. We're coming slightly to the end of your part of it, but of course, if they have additional questions, we will send them to you afterwards. You can connect, of course, as well afterwards. Maybe just a very quick one at the end, because all these deep tech projects, what is your magic that you can define which is the right or the technology that you want to invest in? What makes what makes a difference? Although that's a difficult one, of course, but is there something particular that makes...
If there was a magic, we'd know it. The only magic that is actually magic is the fire in the eye of the founder. So it's like it's a combination of the founder's energy and the market potential that's making it amazing. And sure, tech is important. Sure, we look at the IP, how deeply rooted it is, etc. I'm talking more for deep tech here, but in general, it's really the combination of how can we actually change a role in the market, and do we have the energy to do so? And that's what actually makes us do the investment at the end.
Wow, makes sense. And it's a great point to wrap it up here for you. Thank you so much, Benjamin. And then let me go our next presenter, which is Leen. Can you share us your screen and tell us a bit more about your investment focus and everything about ForsVC?
Hello, everyone.
We can see your screen.
Perfect. And you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. So first of all, thank you for organizing this event. I love reverse pitches, and yeah, it's always good to have a chance to pitch our fund ourselves. So I will immediately start. Oops. Sorry, my throat. But there are many ways that actually founders of game studios or game companies approach us. They have most of all a request to accelerate their next 12 to 18 months. So they approach us because sometimes they want to start a game studio or a game tech related company. They want to be less reliant on publishers. They want to hire a new C-level, scale the company, find capital to fund a new game, or in general, they just want to grow faster. So before I dive into ForsVC, a little word about myself. So as to the rest of the founding team of ForsVC, we're all operators and founders becoming part of the investment team. So I was an operator for 7 years. I worked with Netlog. I'm not sure if you know the company, social media website before Facebook went big. And then I moved to London to work for a video technology platform. I became a founder in 2014. I launched different initiatives. One of them you might as well know, called Tech.eu, a media publication. My own venture in B2B software with LucidWeb, 360 video. And then I also launched an NGO, like mentioned in the introduction, called Women in Immersive Tech. We're actually relaunching it to Women of Industries of Tomorrow. Since 2022, I've been focusing on the VC world, and I've done some classes, some courses, and then I joined and worked for several funds, local, international. The international ones are Field of View Ventures, again Metaverse, and then the VR fund, which used to be very focused on XR, but now as well more focusing on the broader spatial computing and AI stream. 2023, I was approached by ForsVC. I was very surprised because I didn't know there was a game fund specialized from Belgium, focusing on Belgium. So I was very surprised. And one of the reasons you might say, okay, your background is metaverse and you join a game fund. For me, gaming, Roblox, Minecraft, Fortnite, they're all kind of metaverses. So for me, the gaming world, the metaverse world, AI, they're all part of the same future of interactivity, future of media entertainment. So I'm very happy that since 2 years, I'm the managing director of the fund. Maybe a little step back again, why would a fund focus on gaming in the first place? Some of you will know it, these statistics, but I just want to reiterate. Gaming is predicted to have the biggest consumer spending above cinema, music, and pay TV in 2026. So gaming is not a niche, it's the dominant media entertainment consuming spending vertical. There are 3.3 billion active video gamers in the world. And we also see it's not a niche for example, focusing on male players. The female players are identified as women. Gaming community is increasing, and it's actually now almost half of the game population. So as a VC, we look at market potential, we look at growth, different user demographics, and gaming is very interesting in terms of investments. Who is ForsVC? We have been set up by a unique consortium of partners. First of all, we have BNP Paribas Fortis, collaboration with HOWEST. HOWEST is the leading academic institution in Kortrijk, and basically they have rolled out digital arts and entertainment division where game designers and game developers have very focused training and graduate. And a lot of talent has been graduating there over the years. And one of the main reasons why the fund has been basically set up is to make sure that the talent stays in Belgium as much as possible. Another consortium partner is the Kronos Group. You might know the Kronos Group. It's basically a huge consortium of IT companies. And they focus on entrepreneurship in general, and they have many companies in many verticals. Who is the team except myself? So we have Erik Diepeveen. He's a venture partner. He's based in the Netherlands, working full-time with the fund. Then we have Arne, who is working with us, but also with the Video Game Tech Shelter initiative. And then Michiel Gouwe, also part-time, he is basically working at Flanders Game Hub. It's an initiative set up to focus on the Flemish part of the game studios ecosystem. So like I mentioned, we're all operators turned founders, and a lot of expertise and a lot of actually added value when we, of course, do an investment, that we can provide the right support and knowledge. In terms of investment criteria, we focus on game studios, very early stage, but also more mature ones, game project in general, and then game technology. So when we say game tech, it's really quite broad, and we're still basically on the go defining what should be based on this umbrella, what could belong under this umbrella. So it's gaming meets advertising, it's gaming meets IP, gaming meets influencer marketing, or anything related to, for example, I just mentioned the UGC gameplay and the tools and infrastructure providing these. We have two financing types. We can invest with equity, based on equity, or convertible loans. The convertible loans is a very popular one for Belgian game studios and game tech companies specifically, because a lot of them are just not investment ready enough. So therefore, we provide a convertible loan, and then we invest a lot of time and resources to make them investment ready. Then we convert, and then we invest more. The investment ticket size, you see there's a big difference between 150K and 2.5 million, but that's also because we have such a specific focus on one country, also the neighboring countries, but it has been set up really to focus on Belgium. So we're also, depending on the maturity of the game studio, we can invest more for a first ticket, for example, up to 1 million, but including follow-ons, we can go up to 2.5. I'm talking about Belgium a lot, but we also focus on the Netherlands, France, and Germany, although the number of investments we have done in those countries is quite low. So most of the investments are spread between Belgium and the Netherlands, and we're looking a bit more now into France and Germany. Why ForsVC? yes, we're a partner that can bring a lot of smart capital. We have a lot of insights that we can share. We have an ecosystem where we can find the right people to join your team. So yes, we have a very specialized lens, focus on everything related to games and how game studios work, how the business plans are different than a normal software startup. We focus on Belgium, but in the end on the western part of Europe. We're founder first and led by founders and operators. In terms of how to attract venture capital, is yes, we always say let's start with a strong business plan and pitch, build a talented team, show early success. And what does it mean for gaming? Steam wishlist, for example, attraction in community in Discord, for example, all these numbers, even though the game is not completely designed or developed yet, there are so many metrics that can be provided that we can understand that there's a real focus and a real ambition towards a certain community of players. Because we're focused on Belgium and the neighboring countries, we attend a lot of industry events. So to be very honest, we know a lot of the game studios already. We see them a lot at and game tech companies at conferences. And actually with every conference, there's basically an update so you can grow the relationship with us. So the moment that you actually need money to accelerate your company, the relationship is already built. Maybe as well, just quickly to highlight, publishers are very specific to the world of game studios. And a lot of game studios that approach us basically are a bit lost in what the difference is in how the collaboration works. We're quite different from a publisher. We invest in a team and not in a game, and that is very important. We of course look at the next game that the team is aiming to develop and launch, but that's not why we would do the investment. We would look at the team, how ambitious they are. Benjamin mentioned it as well, like the fire in their eyes, the energy, the vision they have long term. And of course, we want to look at the first game because it's quite important for the revenues and the next 12 to 18 months or even longer. But we're mostly looking at what is the team today, how do they see the studio grow in the next 12 to 18 months or even longer. So yes, the team is key. We provide services, publishers provide services, and we provide capital. So with a publisher agreement, what typically happens is that they take care of part of the development or take care of part of the marketing, the community outreach, and then they do a rev share. And they will not, of course, step into the cap table. They will have a rev share on that one game that is part of the agreement. So basically, they look at the short term and not the long term. As for our portfolio, we are a fund of 18 million. It's the first fund. Like I said, it's almost like a fund. It's almost like a fund that has been set up to understand what the needs are of this sector in a country like Belgium, and then as well in neighboring countries. So we need to understand what the needs are, and that basically translate that to our LPs and make sure that we have a very good understanding of the market and the needs of these game studios. And while we're building and while we're investing, we're translating a lot of that knowledge to our LPs, which is a combination of private and public entities. So the first company we invested in is Cyborn. They're based in Antwerp, and they approached us 4 years ago because they were basically doing high-level animations and film productions, and the team, very talented, wanted to step into the game market and basically develop and publish their first game. They did that, and the game is called Hubris. So I'm not sure if you have a VR headset at home, you can definitely try Hybris. It's a VR action and adventure game, has been receiving many awards. And then last year, they published Wall Time Wonders, which is a cozy live sim city builder in mixed reality. So basically powered by Meta and also funded by Meta. Our first investment in the Netherlands called Studio DeLorean. It's a horse management game. They approached us because they were doing really, really good with the game, but they wanted to invest to bring the game to more horse lovers in the world. So it was really an acceleration in terms of sales outside their organic consumer base. Oito Studio, again based, their main product is Painting VR, a virtual painting experience. They approached us because they wanted to build additional games next to a very successful one. Mystic Forge is a publisher, quite unusual potentially for a VC to invest in a publisher, which is more like a service company. But we felt as a VC in this niche that's important to also understand better the market of publishers. And in this case, it's a micro publisher focused on micro strategy games for PC. Also not unimportant is the fact that it's been set up by industry veterans. So we basically helped them to set up a company. Autoactive, again a publisher, but even a more smaller one. And this publisher is focused on horror games. Our first game tech investment in a company called Strive Cloud, also based in Ghent, and they build software to gamify non-games websites. So basically mobility providers who want to include leaderboards and collect coins. So everything that works in games as retention a tool, they're going to offer this to non-game clients. And then last but not least, a company in Bruges called Glowfish Interactive. They just released a new multiplayer game, Nubs, last week. And that was also basically the reason of the investment, is that they wanted to explore a second game next to their first game. We see ourselves as an ecosystem builder next to being an investor. So we also set up a website called gameindustry.be, where you can find all the game studios in Belgium and as well Belgian game mentors. So it's our way to also scale the level of requests we receive from game studios saying, okay, I need a mentor in X, I need a mentor in finances, in funding. So the platform matches the requests from the game studios with experience profiles in the industry. So that's it from my side. I hope it was insightful. So I'm very curious to hear if there's any questions.
Thank you, Lynn. Very inspiring presentation, and I think we can say in Belgium we're lucky to have you running ForsVC, this fund, with all your background and your valuable experience. Really, that makes a difference, I think. And going on that part, maybe because in your presentation you mentioned as well that it's a founder first fund. Maybe you can give maybe some concrete examples of that, of how do you implement this philosophy into your actions, or how do you see that? Can you elaborate a little bit more on the founder first part?
Like I said, we meet a lot of the founders at industry events to basically, before we even start talking about what the actual capital need is or the acceleration effort is, you just start meeting each other at events. And I think that is really crucial. There needs to be, again, reiterating what I said, there needs to be this vision, this like energy that you feel like, okay, now I really need to understand what they're building and how their vision translates into products or games. So it's by meeting individuals several times, and I know this sounds a bit weird in this online context, and definitely games are online, but for a small market like us and our niche focus, it just makes a lot of sense to have these conversations at several instances throughout the year, build a relationship, and then, of course, the moment that there is a capital need, you can go so much faster. There's trust. There's a liking of individuals, because, of course, it needs to go both ways. It's not us saying, okay, we choose you, but also the founder needs to choose us and needs to also express or needs to be willing to work with us. So I think it goes both ways, and that's something that you find out in these instances in real life.
Sure. Well, thank you for clarifying that out. I see a question coming in. I'm not sure to really understand the question. They're asking about how much are you taking? 60, 80% of equity? Maybe you can. Yeah.
It's a common misconception.
Yeah, I thought so.
Kronos is one of our founding partners, and they have their own model internally with Kronos. They have 600 companies, and they work with their own model. But in this case, Kronos is an LP. Of course, they were very motivated to set up the fund, but in the end, they're a limited partner. They bring in capital, and we're completely independent.
Right.
So maybe as well as a follow-up, the stake or ownership we have in companies, it really can be very different, because I also said that we can start very early on with a ticket of a CLA of 150K, or we can immediately invest 1 million, but it's always a minority stake. So it's definitely not the case that we would go for the percentages that are confirmed there.
All right, fine. And then, well, a short one to wrap it up, because we need to move to our last presenter. But maybe based on all your experience as an entrepreneur, as an investor, and all the different layers, maybe you have a last and final tip for the entrepreneurs with a project to approach ForsVC. What could help them when looking for investment funding?
Yeah, depending if it's a game studio, then of course you have all the production numbers and the wish list and the community. And game tech, there are different ways to trigger our interest. But definitely just look at game studios. Then I strongly believe it's the community first. You build around this particular game, and then you build on top of that with the investor conversations.
Sure. Makes sense. Well, thank you so much, Elaine, for having shared all this with us. And then you can leave the stage to our last presenter, and that is Job. Hey, Job.
Hey,
you can tell us some more about Antler. So take the screen. You can share your screen if you want.
About Antler. Also, thanks for the great pitches, Elaine and Benjamin. Always hard to be last and having your thunder stolen before. But here we go. Maybe a little bit about myself. So I've actually been on the other side of the table as well. So I've been a founding engineer while I was on an XAnge and specializing in AI. And then I got in touch with a lot of VCs while I was pitching and noticed that I wanted to be on the other side of the table first. Maybe should have sticked along a little bit longer because they're now trading at 1 million ARR and raised a bunch of capital. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this side of the table as well. I think when it comes to Antler, I think we're a little bit different than what Lane and Benjamin are doing. So we have a little bit of a different take, and I'm going to walk you through why I think that's the case. But nevertheless, I think we're in an ecosystem where all VCs are super important to drive the market, and all of them are adding value in their own way. So I think as a founder, it's really important to pick the one that you jam best with, and that fits your stage and your issues at that point in time. Gonna ask you to let me know if you can see my screen now.
Yeah, we can see it. Just put it in full mode, and then here we go. Good.
All right. Yeah. So to start with, why I think we're different. I think what I'm seeing at the very early stage, the inception stage, is that there's generally 4 issues that someone has, right? Either you're sitting on a great idea, but you can't find a great co-founder, right? Everyone that you believe is great is either already settled in a job, is building their own thing, or is not daring the move to go and build with you. And then I think on the other side, you may already have that idea, you may already have a co-founder, but you don't know how to validate your idea. You don't have the network to reach out to customers. You don't have the network to reach out to investors. And hence, that causes you to either delay your growth potential or not get to the growth you would have gotten to otherwise. And I think that's the main reason why a guy called Magnus founded Antler in 2018, and since then has expanded it across the world into 30 locations. We're currently having over 1,400 portfolio companies, and have been, I think, year on year, one of the most active early stage investors around the globe. The way I would look at this from your perspective is 2 things. I think 2 main takeaways on this slide is we are having a huge growing community. There's over 1,400 portfolio companies that you can reach out to ask questions about how they went about stuff, but also to sell your potentially sell your product to. And then I think the thing that really stood out for me is that we only invest in the 0.5% founders of the deal flow that we're actually seeing. So these people are all very selectively invested into. I think if we look at that funnel, why it works what we do is that we get over 160k applicants a year, and about 2,000 of them actually manage to get into the residency. Now locally this is in the European region, this is 11,000, and about 180 of them get into the residency. That means that we are more selective than the big universities out there, Stanford, Harvard. And that means that you as a founder get to work and get to be surrounded by a great group of people that all bring their own individual networks, that all bring their own individual skills and expertises that you can bank on to build your startup. And then, so the way we work is by inviting those founders into 4 to 10 week long residencies. And within the first bit of that residency, I think the first 2 weeks, we focus mostly on community building. So getting everyone to know each other, getting everyone to share their business vision, their idea. And then some of them will be individual founders. They will actually team up with other individual founders and work on the best idea. Some of them may already have a complete team, and for them it's super important to get the intros to the customers they are targeting, to get the intros to the investors they may be targeting later down the line, and that's what helps everyone in the residency, everyone in those 4 to 10 week period move quicker. At the end of that 4 to 10 week period, we set up an investment committee, and that's the moment where we decide to invest or not to invest into your venture. If we decide to invest into your venture, you end up in the thing we call phase 2, and then we help you accelerate from there, both by entrenching you into our portfolio community, but also by introducing you to industry experts and industry operators that have been in the trenches before, that have probably worked in the same industry as you are building, and therefore can help you jump some of the guns that may be aimed at you while building and trying to grow your company. When we look at our portfolio, on the left-hand side are probably a few of them that we have invested to that you may be familiar with. So Aurolo is one of the first eSIM marketplaces globally. I think it has a little bit of a funny story, because initially I think none of the partners actually wanted to invest in Aurolo, and there was one partner that said, no, I think this guy is great, we need to believe in the founder. There may not be a market today, but it's certainly going to be there. I think we invested into them at the end of the residency in Singapore, and then afterwards they raised the worst Series A ever. And all of the partners and all of the people in the investment team were like, yeah, see, we should not have invested. This may not have been the best deal, but whatever, we're here for the founders, so we're going to support them. And now it's actually one of our first soon to be announced unicorns out there. And they're one of the global leaders in the eSIM market space. So that's great to see. I think Lovable, completely different story. There was a super technical guy who launched his project on GitHub first, open source project, got over 50K in GitHub stars, and then decided to join Antler to turn it into a real company. I think everyone knows about the story. I think it's one of the quickest growing companies out there. I think it took them about 3 months to get to 10 million in ARR. So those numbers are super impressive. But I think in today's market, with today's tools and with today's speed of product development, there should not really be a limit in terms of how quickly you can get to a certain amount of revenue. And then from our Dutch Central European portfolio, we have Spherical, completely different type of company. Spherical is basically a company that designs semiconductor chips for space tech hardware applications. So think about satellites, etc. The way this company came about is that the founder used to be an electronics engineer at a space tech company and faced flawed chips daily until he decided to fix it himself, joined Antler. We helped him get his co-founder, and then afterwards I think the story speaks for itself. It's a hardware company, so they have a long time to market. But here we actually helped him get to non-dilutive funding, and from there he's now actually he managed to get 4 million of non-dilutive funding in. It's still early in his journey, but we'll launch his first chips into space somewhere in the next year. I think there's a lot of investor appetite. There's also a lot of customer and commercial appetite for this venture. So I hope to see their growth continuing like this, and I hope for them that they will be able to disrupt this market. I think on the more recent side, we have Colmo, which was one of our investments from the previous residency, and it's maybe a thing that you may see a little bit more often today, an AI agent that solves the reliability issues in engineering. I think the interesting bit about this team is that their CTO is a domain expert, not only in reliability engineering after spending a ton of time in that specific role, but also played a pivotal role in GraphRag research, which is actually a key element, a key USP of the tool they've built to solve this issue. I think the other guy is just crazy bias for action. So really good fit, complementary team, and good to see them. I think we invested into them in December or end of December, and I think somewhere in February already raised follow-on capital from angels and undisclosed other venture capital firm. That's a little bit to give you a little bit of feeling of how quickly people can move after we invest into them. This story I already told you, so I'm going to skip it for now in the interest of time. And then we have Noctis, which is another great story. Really shortly, Noctis is a cyber threat detection solution. This team came about by two great mathematical wizards joining the residency. But they were very science-oriented, very techy, and they didn't really know how to turn their unique algorithm into a real business. And that's why we helped them match and team up with a guy called Leonardo, who's essentially just a sales maniac, reaches out to a gazillion people a day, and actually manages to convert them into customers or pilot opportunities. These guys are on the brink of raising about 1.5 million, I think 4 months after we invested. So again, a great story to see how we help the team, how we supported the team, and how quickly a team can accelerate after we have invested into them. I'm gonna skip this slide in the interest of time. So what are we looking for when we look at founders and when we look at teams? So I think important to understand by now is that we are sourcing individual founders and teams. And for both of them, we look at the same things, which is the inner drive. I think these are the common things that VCs look for. But I think the stage where we are investing into, the team is the leading, or the founder is the leading driver of our investment. And we really look at three things, and it actually matches with what the other VCs just already told you. We really look for that inner drive. We really look for someone that is obsessed about a certain space, obsessed about a certain problem, and wants to tackle it. We also like if founders bring a little bit of a contrarian view about a market. So it's not just following the pack, but actually says, hey, this can be done slightly differently, which makes it much better than the current state of the art. We also look for grit, because I think at the stage that we are investing, which is day zero, when a company is just incorporated or right before it gets incorporated, there's a lot of grit needed to pass through the hurdles, etc., etc. So that's one of the pointers that we look at, and we always look for a spike. So do you have like this one stellar or maybe multiple stellar capabilities that other people simply don't have, that allows you to excel into a certain direction? I think we have standard terms for the residency. At day zero, we commit 300K, out of which 100K is a 10% equity ticket, and the other 200K is uncapped, typically invested into at a 5 to 10 million valuation. If we then look at maybe one important element to add here is that we actually follow on until Series C, so we can invest up to 30 million per company, and that will help you close your rounds later down the line as well. Now, if I go full circle to the slide I showed you at the beginning, I think the way we aim to solve those issues that I shared with you all the way at the beginning is, one, you can leverage our network, not only our network, but the network of the community as well. So we stimulate people making peer-to-peer introductions. We stimulate people making investor introductions, but we also have our own investor network. I think if we look locally in a team, we have over 4,000 active investor relationships. And so anyone that wants to raise and anyone that needs to raise can count on those 4,000 active relationships, but can also count on the relationships of the other peers in the community that you have been very close to while building your startup. So I think that's what's causing those examples that I just shared to really excel in the early stage and get to either a lot of traction early or a lot of capital early, or both, ideally. That's it. And on the right hand side, you see some of our co-investors that invested to some of our local portfolio companies after we have invested, which I think.
Thank you. Yep. I think we have to wrap it up here. I don't know if you just want to add something more. Let me check just if there are some questions.
Nothing to add. I think this is the local team we have in Amsterdam, Berlin, and Munich. So feel free to reach out to any one of us. We're here to help. We're super excited to support you. And I think similar as to what Benjamin are saying also counts for us. We don't distinguish between day and night, or weekends, or weekdays. So we're always on. You can always count on us, and that typically also holds for your peers in the community.
Great. Thank you so much. That was very interesting to learn and to see also the different approach that you're bringing with Antler compared to other funds here. And so maybe one question on that part, because you're talking a lot about the residency. I hope I said that correctly. Maybe entrepreneurs are asking themselves, okay, is that only about the support that you're giving them with workshops and connecting them, or does it also physically means the residency will have to come in and what is from their side? What do they have to? What is expected from them in this residency period?
Yeah, important clarification question, and should have addressed that myself. I think so. We host 2 to 3 residencies in person in any of the 3 locations that that are here on the slides. And for us, it's really important, especially that the beginning of the residency is in person, simply to build the community. I think it's super hard to, 1, find a co-founder if you're an individual founder, or 2, build and establish that community and help each other move quicker if you're all working from your own house and your own home office. So we really encourage people to come in person, and it's actually one of the requirements for us in the beginning of the residency.
Right. And can you give an estimation a bit in time? Because of course, as all founders, they're super busy. But what time do they need to free for this more or less to help?
Yeah.
Or is it free to choose?
So the next residency is starting in September, and the typical frame, but this is tailor-made to each founder. The typical time frame is between 4 and 10 weeks until you get an investment.
Right.
Does that clarify the question?
Yeah, absolutely. But it doesn't mean that they need to stay all this time full time at residence, I suppose.
No,
yes.
So I think the first 2 weeks is really important to be there full time,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
But we do require everyone to have 0 side commitments, because building a business is not about, it's not a side gig. It's really full time commitment. But I think if you find your co-founder, and if you have your team and everything is working well, then the only thing that matters is, I think the only 2 things that really matter is growing or fundraising. And so the earlier they team up and go elsewhere, we don't care where they are, as long as they are focusing on those 2 things.
Sure.
And I think the founders agree with that.
Absolutely. One last one to wrap up, because we're coming at the end of our session. Maybe on the part that you mentioned, this co-founder part, because you're mentioning about that, maybe the possibility of matching them. How concretely, how do you do that? What is your approach on it?
I think there's no magic sauce to matching people.
Right.
So we do try to help them identify which gaps are in the team, if there are any gaps, right? And then help them give recommendations of, hey, you should speak to this and this person. But at the end of the day, it's about a personality match. It's about a certain norms and values. It's about a vision. It's about a mission, ways of working. And you only know if it clicks if you just start working with people. So it's a very organic way of how we try to set that up.
True. Well, thank you, Benjamin. That wraps it up as well for Antler, I think. Thank you for the useful feedback, and thank you as well again, Leen and Benjamin, for your great presentations and experience sharing with all our entrepreneurs. So thank you very much also to the participants. Great to have had you here. We'll share some information afterwards, the recording of the session as well, so you can have a look back at these insightful presentations. We hope you've gained some practical knowledge, and maybe clear paths to connect with the right investment partners. So stay tuned for our next sessions. You can do that on our LinkedIn, follow us, and feel free to reach out with any other further questions. Until next time, keep innovating and scaling your ambitions. And then thank you so much. Have a nice afternoon and see you soon. Bye-bye, everyone. Take care.
Bye. Thanks a lot.